Today's episode is sponsored by the 2023 Rhode Island Business Summit, presented by Stella Business Concepts on September 21st at the Event Factory in Warwick, Rhode Island. Join us to connect with B2B vendors, amazing networking opportunities, and guest speakers like Patricia Raskin, who will talk to you about podcasting for your business, leadership with Mary Sullivan, or customer retention with me, Erica Sacosio, and more. We have panelists, and we also have a very fun, amazing lunch and learn with Rhode Island comic Poppy Champlin. Tickets are on sale now. Visit our website at www.stellabusinessconcepts.com. See you there. Hey guys, welcome to Practical Biz Podcast. I'm your host, Erica Sacosio, and today we are joined with Jen and David from the Rhode Island Small Business Coalition. I was like, what the heck is it mean? So today we wanted to talk a little bit about why advocacy is so important for small business owners to get involved in, and we're going to dig into that. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Jen, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you for having us. I'm Jennifer Ortiz. I am a small business owner of 18 years. I own Executive Cuts in downtown Providence, right in the heart of the city, the financial district. I have become more of a small business advocate out of COVID. I am now on the vice president of the Rhode Island Small Business Coalition. I am on the Governor's Workforce Board and help advocate for us there. And thank you for the invitation.
You're very welcome.
My name is David Dadekian. I own Eat Drink Rhode Island. I started that about 13 and a half years ago to do all sorts of local food and drink media and marketing and events. I joined I was one of the founding members of the coalition board. That was a little over 3 years ago now. It's amazing to realize how much the time flies. But yeah, I've been a part of the Rhode Island Food Policy Council for many years. So I really believe in advocacy and how we can, affect change that we want to see happen.
Awesome. And you also have your own podcast or YouTube channel?
Yeah.
I'll give you a second.
The coalition. Yeah.
Give them the plug there. What do they look up there? Is it just Rhode Island Small Business Coalition?
The Rhode Island Small Business Coalition. It's on YouTube and on your podcast, and the website is risbc.org.
Perfect.
We can go.
Perfect. Okay. So tell us a little bit. Let's start with why small advocacy is different than other forms of advocacy. What do you find it the same? What do you think?
I think it's much more intimate for a small business owner to come and say, this is my issue. This is what I'm having problems with. For us, that was the biggest point during COVID when we were in lockdown and then trying to come out of lockdown, when we had gotten close to many of the leaders that were making the decisions of when we were going to open. We had the opportunity to say, this is why I need this.
This is my livelihood, and be very thoughtful of the decisions that you're making.
Yeah,
right.
Even in my field specifically, they pushed our date back. We were supposed to open in phase 1. I mean, it was just a phase.
Yeah.
And that was a hard hit.
Yeah.
And I remember speaking with Commerce directly of why did we get pushed back? And it was, you touch the people. Yes, but I am licensed to not spread disease. As a hairdresser, as a licensed hairdresser,
yes,
we learned about sanitation before COVID.
You're speaking my language. Yes.
So if anybody should know how not to, it's us.
Yeah.
And then having the opportunity to have them come to my barbershop and show them the steps that I've taken, it just gave me the bigger voice. Even when we were finally open a couple weeks down the line, we wanted to be allowed to double book, and that was something that was still not allowed. I actually had Commerce come to the shop, and I showed them directly, how can I sit somebody here and how can I do somebody else and keep those clients 6 feet apart. At the same time, myself changing and sanitizing to make sure that there was no spread. So all of that gave myself and the coalition a big voice, and that's how we formed.
Fantastic.
No, I mean, I think advocacy, comes at all different levels, and a lot of it is a learning curve, not for us advocating, but for the the people in the General Assembly or the governor's office, whoever, because understandably they can't be expected to know every aspect of every business out there in the world.
Sure.
So the beauty of the coalition is we are any small business is part of the coalition. It doesn't matter what field you're in. We really want to try and encompass everyone. But clearly within that, there are certain specialties in certain areas that, you have to focus on for certain things. To use Jen's example of COVID, I work with a lot of food and drink businesses, restaurants, that I work with. There's all sorts of contingencies and healthcare plans and all that in place for safety. So, you realize, of course, yes, there are things that need to happen, during the pandemic, but restaurants were very well equipped to deal with a lot of it. Yes, a lot of it was new to us, of course, but some of it was, hey, yeah, we already do these things. We already sanitize with this equipment.
Yeah.
We already, we already have these sort of HVAC, ventilation systems. So, it really varies. I think, but what you've got to, always try to understand is, when you approach that, either your representative or your senator, with an issue for your business, they're not going to understand why sometimes. I mean, yeah, so, some of them are, thankfully our General Assembly is mostly made up of small business people as well. So if you're an accountant or a lawyer and you approach a rep, they may know exactly what you're talking about. But if you're a mechanic or, a dentist,
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to have an idea.
Yeah.
So, I think that's where the advocacy can vary.
So for the listeners that are listening right now, like, let's say you're like, I don't know, I want to make this up. Let's say you own a pet shop. Why am I listening to this episode? And so really, when you're not involved, it really does impact your bottom line. And so an example would be during the pandemic, and I know that we're out of that at this point. If you were not involved, you didn't have a voice at the table. So when they were making those decisions about, different grants, so the federal government was just throwing money at states and said, here's your money, do what you need to do with it. And if you weren't, advocating for your business, that money wasn't going to you. So you can't sit by the sideline and complain that people are not listening or not helping your industry if you're not involved, right? And so there are certain industries that have stronger voices than others. And so that's why coming together with a group like yours really does help. And I do think that the legislation people want to do the right thing. But if there's not somebody from that industry that says, here's the challenges, so owning a childcare, I was on the other end of that. It was so we were like, okay, you're going to open for emergency service. I talked to my staff. We opened for emergency service. And literally the same night, we found out, like everyone else, the governor said, no, I'm pulling everybody's licensure closed for 3 months. And then it was, you guys can open first. You guys open first. And it was a lot of back and forth. You can open first, but if somebody got sick, then you were closing down. So, so I think, there was all different aspects of how to handle that. So, yeah, I think that that's really important. So it really does affect your bottom line. Can you give some instances of how you feel like advocating really helped you make it through the recession and economy and all the other things that we're faced with right now?
Absolutely. That's actually how kind of I came to meet everybody was I was home. I had no idea. We were told that we can apply for unemployment, which is something that never has happened in my field.
Right.
So it was like, well, how do I apply for unemployment? And a good friend of mine sent me the link, 800 number. That's how I got on the call with the Lieutenant Governor at the time. And he, made us feel welcomed, gave me his cell phone number, which was his big mistake. And now he's
great.
He's
amazing. He's great.
But it was when I started meeting these guys of how do I start applying for this? And then I remember when we got into a little bit deeper of who can qualify. You know how sometimes as a small business owner, you are either a sole proprietor, LLC, corporation, things like that. The people that were making the rules for us didn't understand the differences in them. And I remember it was about 11 o'clock at night, I got a call from Commerce saying, because I was advocating for sole proprietors, which I am.
Yeah.
And we weren't on the list to qualify for certain grants and programs. And I'm like, why? They're like, well, if you're a sole prop, you can't qualify. You have to be LLC or above. And I had to sit there and basically show them look, this is my business account. This is my personal account. And this is how I separate everything. I am a legitimate business. I have an EIN. And kind of explain step by step of what.
Because they didn't understand it. Yeah.
They didn't understand. And that's how I got sole proprietors to be able to qualify at 11 o'clock at night. And that was part of our advocacy at the beginning that a lot of people didn't see. and it's only continued throughout the years.
Yeah. And so there's the rebound grant right now, right?
That's the most current one, yeah. But we've worked on just about all the grants, I think, since the beginning. Coalition did.
We actually helped the first one that came out under Governor Raimundo. We weren't a part
that
of.
one, right.
And then the second one, when then Governor McKee took over, he brought us in full force. We were actually helping write the grants and test the applications, testing software. And it helped because it was like, well, why are you asking for this? Why are you asking for that?
No.
Like, you're just going to make it hard.
And I love that you guys really made sure like the money stayed in Rhode Island, right? With Rhode Island vendors helping Rhode Island small business, right? But that's key. Like, that's important, right? Because I don't know that is always the case, right? It could be, you could call any web designer from any state, right? So now it's, right? It's staying in the state where it should be. So great job.
Ironically, the Commerce Department used a group out of, what was it, Minnesota? two Minnesota grants. And we're like, what? Why? What?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
When we had to be the ones calling Minnesota, it was like, okay.
It was like, this is not how it should be.
Right. So good job at doing that. And, I appreciate that as a small business owner in Rhode Island. So what are the key benefits for joining a small business advocacy group?
For us specifically would be for you to tell us what you need.
Yeah.
That's been the biggest thing that I've learned with dealing with a bunch of different businesses is I don't know what, David business or your business needs. I know what my business needs. So, come and tell us what you need, what you're lacking. How can we advocate for you? Or we can teach you how to advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we were talking about this before, it's Rhode Island. So we all kind of know each other's businesses to some extent, but certainly I don't know what goes on in the day-to-day of a barbershop or, or a retail store, or a childcare facility. But I certainly know people who own those businesses, not just the two of you, but other people that own those businesses. So, the more I learn, the more I could see what goes on, the more we can sort of say, okay, well, you should talk to that person, and you should, this group, or you should communicate about this. I think you look at the current General Assembly session, what's going on. There's certain things that I'm helping with one. And just it's fresh in my mind because I just looked at this morning about winery sales. And that's very specific to the food and drink industry. But then there's things like the tangible tax, that they're trying to, either amend or remove that tangible tax for cities and towns that charge it. And that applies to all sorts of people throughout the entire state. One of our board members is a caterer, and she pays tax on all her equipment every year, which is, one of those things that no one really understands why. It's one more tax for the state. And so we can advocate for, things like that are very broad, that affect all sorts of businesses across the entire state, and connect those businesses too if they need it.
Do you guys have I don't know, I'm going to throw you into, I didn't talk about this before, but do you guys have like a strategy where you have certain industries that maybe you feel are not represented in your coalition that you would really love somebody to step up? Or do you feel all the industries in Rhode Island are pretty covered?
That's kind of difficult to answer because I don't know all the industries. I don't know all the small business. Like, you have like 6 in this, right, building. How many are actual small business? How many are corporations? We don't know.
Yeah.
So unless you come to us, how are we going to know? And honestly, we're all small business owners running our own thing.
Yeah.
We can't just go out there knocking on every door. It's like, sure, you need help?
Sure.
Yeah.
So maybe it even looks like something where we look at the membership and say what industries are they in? Where do we have a gap? And then we could strategically say we really need a voice in this field, and kind of send out that way. And so maybe that means you pick up the phone, you listener, Rhode Island business owner, pick up the phone and call these guys and make sure that your industry is represented. That's why I asked you that.
And we certainly looked at that for the board. There's a dozen of us on the board. And we looked at it. We said, okay, well, we don't want to have overlap on the board. Minor overlaps here and there, but we really wanted 12 different business owners. But does that cover the whole state? By our board, not all, not by any means. There's certainly businesses that we don't have. You mentioned a pet shop owner. We don't have anyone like that board, but I know we have members like that. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I'm sure you probably have people in the retail space.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, what's small business advocates like? What do we do around promoting either entrepreneurship or innovation in the state?
Depends who you ask.
I'm asking
Sometimes the answer
you
is,
guys.
sometimes the answer is not much. I hate to say it.
It's okay.
I think we could certainly do a better job of it here in Rhode Island. I don't know, Jen. What do you?
I think there's a lot of resources out there
Yeah.
too. As we discussed before we went live, there's just so many organizations out there. Reach out to somebody that's local to your small business. I'm in Providence, so I obviously have a broader network being downtown. I have CWE. I have, a lot of
WE.
a lot of those organizations really near. Sometimes just taking a class through any of them. A lot of those things are free. Small business owners don't realize that.
Yep.
SCORE, SBA, and things. You
Just look at our playlist, Guy. Every single person you mentioned is on our playlist.
Yeah.
We do have a lot of great resources, but I didn't know if that was something that you that your organization looks at.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we work with all those groups that Jen just mentioned. We're working on the current technical grant program with Skills for RI, which out of the Department of Labor. Okay. Matt's group. We'll give a little shout out for Director Weldon. He was certainly been the champion over the years. We try to, again, small state, but not everyone knows everyone, as much as you want sometimes. So you want to try and get those people together, get those groups together, and communicate.
Okay. What have you found has been the most effective way to engage your membership?
Networking events.
Yeah.
We'll hold events.
Okay.
We just held one with Skills RI. Had a pretty good turnout, and it's just good to have that face to face. A lot that we lose during COVID with Zoom and all of that. You definitely have. I like the in-person events better for that.
I have a lot of things in common. Me too.
You always get that little side talk,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing to understand is, we are, all of us on the board and all the members, small business owners, we are a volunteer organization, so we don't all have a ton of time.
Sure.
So, sometimes just the fact that, we're sending out emails and newsletters and just staying communicative as best we can is the best thing for us. Obviously in-person events when we can do them, wonderful. But there's always communication.
How do small business advocates work with government officials and policymakers to promote pro-business policies?
Me personally, I just talk to them while I cut their hair.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, it's given me the biggest. I think when
they can't go anywhere and you can cut them,
and I have scissors to their head.
Yeah, right.
So
it's like whatever you want.
So I've learned a lot from COVID. I didn't actually understand a lot of the government, the way government worked pre-COVID. But now that I have Governor McKee and Speaker Shikarchi as my clients, I get to really learn and have their ear the time that I'm there and have that one-on-one contact with them. A lot of times I'll be in meetings and things and they're like, oh, well, so-and-so needs to know this. I'm like, well, does he know? And then when they come in, I let them know.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people think that our government officials know everything that's going on. They don't.
Right.
I mean,
how can they? They're in the day-to-day too. Yeah. They're in their own day-to-day.
And they're running their own things, Our General Assembly is it part-time? It's like full.
It's part-time General Assembly. Yeah, they're done in a few weeks.
Yeah, and they have long hours. Besides those two, I have several other General Assembly members, and it's a lot of work for them to understand. I've had a couple bills that came in front of me. I also sit on the hairdressers board. The governor put me on that for the Department of Health, and some bills came in front of me, and I got to discuss it with some of our GA members, and it gives me the more understanding of all right, this is, and I've learned a lot from David, from our board members of how does our laws get made? What is the process? When I went to go testify for one of the bills that we were, in support of, I was nervous. I had never been to the state.
Sure.
I had never been to that basement. I'm like, where am I going?
Yeah.
Fortunately, I did have to testify in front of one of my clients. So it helped a little bit, but it's nerve wracking.
Sure.
You know, you have all these cameras on you. It feels like kind of a trial. Like you're in that trial,
I know.
right?
Hearing, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always just, whenever I'm in front of any of them, I just send in a message quick. I'm like, any of these your clients? She tells me who, and then I make sure I compliment their hair as soon as I see them.
What do you guys think is like the biggest challenges facing the small business advocacy today? What do you think the biggest challenges are?
That sometimes they think they've given us enough and we're good to go. Like we still have challenges from COVID.
Yeah.
I know myself personally having the barbershop in downtown. Downtown, I don't think will ever be the same again. So many offices have closed permanently. They're not coming back. So I've lost a lot of clientele because of that. So just getting the word out that, I know we're kind of out of like all that stimulus money. We're not going to be getting big grants or checks.
Well, we're also obviously in a recession,
Yes.
right? So it's back-to-back things,
Right.
So even though, like you said, the pandemic part's over, but the recession is here in full force. So
Yes.
being creative on how you're going to handle that as a business owner is a whole new thing. Do you feel like the last 4 years have been the Twilight Zone?
Yeah.
I do. I do.
True.
I feel like it's just like, it's like thing after thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But we're optimistic
Yes.
and we can do it. How can small business owners get involved in advocacy efforts?
Join us.
Yep.
We need members. We need board members. We would, love to recruit.
Communicative members. Yeah. People that want to, be part of the conversation.
If you feel we're not representing you, your business, your field, join us, apply.
What's the time commitment look like?
It can vary. I mean, we meet once a month, for about an hour and a half over Zoom, and then every few months we do it in person. But that's the
Minimal.
that's the bottom line. Yeah. Then if you have the time to go and testify, like we do occasionally, that's great. If you have the time to help out with a certain aspect, either we've got obviously like any other business. If you think of the coalition as a business, we've got social media needs, we have website needs. So if you have time to help benefit the group with that, that's great. At the very least, it's being part of that meeting and then making sure you communicate as much as possible.
Yeah, and we did recently hire an executive director, which has helped. He's been great getting our name out there. He was a big advocate before he joined us.
Sure.
So it was kind of a couple coalitions joining forces when he came with us.
I was part of both, and
but he can't do it all by himself.
Yeah.
So
no. So
he lets us.
and that's at
he needs us.
Yeah, that's at the board member level. I mean, just to be a member, we at the very least, if you're any small business out there, please just come to the website, sign up for the newsletter, and you're a member that way. And then we have paid tier levels as well. So which we're trying to put together things that are more beneficial for the paid tier members.
And you guys have done a great job. We were talking before, and you said you've got somewhere around 500 business owners that are involved with you at some level.
Right.
So that's fantastic in a state, our size. For those of you who are listening who are like, I've never done advocacy, I don't know why you're talking about that, which I talk about advocacy a lot on this show, honestly, because I do believe that good business owners also give back to the community. It isn't always take. I know we sound like, well, this is what we need, that's what we need, but obviously we're also very community minded, which is why we're stepping up and putting those voices for the people who maybe aren't there, along with our own businesses. Right. I think that is one of the things that is a common thread with most people who get into this kind of coalition type of work and advocacy kind of work. As business owners, we're going to take off that hat of advocacy for a second. As business owners, I would like both of you to give one piece of practical advice that you would have for a business owner right now in Rhode Island. Aside from advocacy, they're like, you didn't prep me for this, Erica. No, well, I figured you run businesses all day long. So maybe one piece of practical biz advice that you would like to give.
I have a funny one. I think it's a good one. So when I first opened my barbershop, I wanted my phone number to be 383 Cox. So I went with Cox Cable. That was the provider for the building. And the 2887 wasn't available. So we went with the next one, which was $28.88. And I turned it on, ordered my flyers, business cards, everything, just ran with it. Give it a couple weeks and make sure that you want that phone number to be yours. Because if you call 383-2000, that's Cox Cable. So for the last 18 years, every single day, I receive a call for Cox Cable.
Oh, boy.
So it's gotten to the point that my clients know text me or leave a message because I can't stop to pick up the phone. Unfortunately, it's generally the elderly, and I try to like, you pressed the wrong number. And then they start yelling at me and like, no, I didn't. I'm like, okay. Or they leave messages like, I'm just calling to pay my bill. I'll wait until you pick up.
So unless you're coming in for a haircut, you don't have a bill at this point.
So make sure that's the number that you want before you order your business card.
You go, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's great.
What I would do is I'm going to say, why don't you have somebody answer that phone and say, well, thank you for calling. We can book your haircut for you. You have nonstop leads coming in.
One of my
How's your
clients
hairdresser doing?
Tell them, we changed the payment. Just send cash to this.
And what about you?
I'll go with the very practical, which is, make sure, you know when all your taxes and forms and everything like that is due. I missed one last year. No, I'm sorry, 21. And
Did they change the date?
all the
They changed the date?
They actually didn't change the date
No.
on this one. They changed it in another one.
Yeah, I was going to say they changed the date on one.
$25 late fee.
Yeah,
which
me too. That's how I knew they
called up,
changed
I was
the
like,
date.
why am I getting a $25 late fee? And they're like, when did you pay it? I was like, the 3rd. They're like, well, we changed the date to the 30th.
Yeah, yeah.
So there was that, but no, I missed one last on the in 2021. Had to get my business reinstated and all that, get the certificate of good standing, all that. And I did, I understand I missed it, so I did it all. But then the guy came back to me and said, "Oh, when you incorporated or filed an LLC in 2012, you didn't pay for that year." I said, "Well, I filed it like the end of the year." He's like, "Yeah, but you still should have paid for that year." So I was like, okay, there's another $500 that, yes, obviously I understand. I'm not, you're not trying to take, anything from me that, the state doesn't clear about, but know your dates, know your tax forms and your dates and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are things that I've never had to deal with because I'm so proud.
Yeah.
And like I had a small business come to me that just started this year, and they're sending me screenshots. They're like, "Is this legitimate?" I'm like, I sent them to him. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I don't go through that, so
Yeah.
it's great to have that.
But that's interesting. And you kind of alluded to this earlier. If you grew up, worked a job growing up, went to school and came out and took another job, and no matter how old you are, you probably have never seen a Schedule C or something like that. You've done your taxes every year with the 1040, and that's it. And that's a whole aspect of things that people don't know about. And so I think it's talk to an accountant, or obviously it's modern times. You can find a lot of information online, but know that it's actually
That's right.
information.
Correct.
But yeah, there's lots to be lots to look at when you're a small business in that aspect of the rules and regulations and taxes and forms and all that.
Well, we certainly appreciate what you guys are doing at our state. If you could look in the camera, give folks your contact information, how they find out more, because hopefully you are inspired, yes, you, to do a little advocacy in the state for your small business and those that don't have a voice. So,
Jennifer Ortiz, I will give you my personal cell phone number so you don't call my business. 401-419-0546. My email is executivecuts2014@gmail.com. Please join us.
Yeah, no, whatever Jen said there, I reiterate, join us. It's really great for small business to be part of it. So as I said, I run Eat Drink Rhode Island. You can find me on all the social media, Eat Drink RI. And if you can't find me on social media, you're not looking. But for the coalition, there's also, as I mentioned the website earlier, risbc.org, and then you can find the coalition on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram as well, and the YouTube channel where we have all the videos that I've done with with Jen's help, with all the different elected officials and business leaders throughout the state. So check all that out. risbc.org is the best place to find that and sign up for the newsletter there.
all right, we have one more ask. If you like the content in this show today, please hit the subscribe button. Leave us a comment below what you thought about our guest, and if you have anybody else that you would like to have us have on the show. Thank you for tuning in. Bye. Are you a business owner? Are ready to get your startup? Well, started. Have a burning question you'd like us to answer? Want to know more about the services we offer? Or register for upcoming workshops and events? Looking to book a guest speaker? Or like to be a guest on the Practical Biz podcast? Visit our website at stellabusinessconcepts.com.